What's up, gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I'm Joshua Hall. I've been living, traveling, dating abroad for around a decade now. I've been to over 50 different countries and I've dated in many of them. And this video going to be a little bit different once again than my typical video. So I'm going to be reacting to Austin Holloman's video because someone requested my opinion on whether most women are attracted to black men or not based on my extensive experience. So if you want to make video requests, go ahead, check out the Patreon, join the Patreon. And before we get into the topic at hand, make sure to smash the like button. Costs you nothing, it means the world to me, really helps me out with the algorithm. So let's go ahead and get into this video. And for one of the rare times, I actually have notes on the video that I watched of Austin Holloman, so I may be referencing them from time to time. But first and foremost, I already have a video on this similar topic on my channel, and to summarize what that video says is essentially, yes, there is going to be a difference if you are a black or colored person than if you are the typical white guy, especially depending on the countries that you are going to. But it's not going to be that big of a deal. Now, let's go ahead and get into some of the things or points that Austin makes. And one of the first points he makes is that, yes, black guys can have success because there are going to be niche women who are attracted to you. And this is similar to the point that I have previously made, that yes, you are going to be a niche or fetishized commodity. But I don't think it is to the level that he says it is. And once again, this is based on my near decade of experience. So what I would say, there's probably 10 to 20% of women who will flat out, point blank, not date you no matter the circumstances, which is definitely going to be higher than what it is for the typical white guy. In fact, I believe that in the video I recorded, I specifically related it to Thailand. So in Thailand, 95% of those women are looking for white guys, or they're open to dating white guys, black guys, Latino guys, blah, blah, blah. There's probably about 5% who are purely not interested in white guys, whereas the other 95% probably going to be interested. And for black guys, there's probably 10 to 20% who won't date you no matter what just because you're black. And then there's a certain population who are solely looking for black guys, Latino guys, Asian guys, what may have you. And then the vast majority of the population really doesn't care. They might prefer a white guy, but they would be open-minded to a Latino guy or a black guy or an Asian guy, which Asian probably not the best example because obviously I was using Thailand as an example, so it's probably much higher than that. But you catch my drift. And then there's other places like China or South Korea or Taiwan or Hong Kong or places like that, that percentage probably even higher than that. Probably 30, maybe 40% will not date a black guy. Or if they do date a black guy, they kind of want to keep it on the low because it's not super socially acceptable, which is something we will talk about later on in this video, because this woman's social class is going to have a major effect on your chances and your abilities. And then another thing that he mentioned is that the best women tend not to be with black men. And in general, I would agree with this, and I think there are a few reasons for this. First and foremost, black men tend to be more weekend warrior, short stay type of guys, which means they aren't building a social circle, they aren't learning the language, and they're not going to be there long term. So when it comes to those higher quality women, that's going to weed a lot of you out, because many of these higher, best quality, whatever you want to call them, women overseas are looking for someone long-term, stable, and probably who speaks the language and has some level of status, because these high-level women, the best women that a country has to offer, have some social status and social cachet that they need to protect. That is why I am always telling you guys that if you want access to the highest quality women, you're probably going to have to do it through social circle. And another thing I want to mention is that just because you aren't the number one star of someone's eyes doesn't mean that there aren't an abundance of opportunity or options in these countries, which I believe is something that Austin kind of touches on, but not really. He does make it seem more like doom and gloom kind of situation, where that is not even close to my personal experience, nor the experience of many other colored folk, Asians, black guys, and what may have you that I personally know. So don't let this doom and gloom video discourage you or deter you from going overseas and seeing what it's like for yourself, especially if you're using something like dating apps, because they are pre-selecting you. And I will also point out, Austin does make the smart distinction that a lot of the highest quality women and a lot of the people that you might see dating in foreign countries might be doing professional service type things, or in a place like Thailand, there is a sponsor culture, which if you haven't been there, you probably don't know a lot about it, but a lot of these guys are financially assisting, especially if they're not coming from a upper middle class family. So that is something to be aware of as well. Now, here is something that I really disagree with Austin with. And like I said, over the last decade that I have been doing this, I have never had my food just randomly forgotten. In fact, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I went out to eat with some of my buddies, and my buddies, all white guys, okay? And there's a huge group of us. And contrary to Austin's experience, they didn't forget my food. They forgot the food of a white guy, and his food was wrong. So double whammy. In fact, another time I went out with my dad, his wife, and some other people, and they are all white as well, mixed skin. So guess what? They forgot my dad's wife's food. And it was also wrong. So the only 2 times that this has ever happened in a decade of experience has happened to the white people, not to me. And I've personally never noticed anyone smiling at everyone else but me. They're either smiling at everyone or nobody. In fact, here's another story for you. The most common thing that I get asked is what type of celebrity I am. If I'm an actor, if I play a sport, if I'm a musician. And I get these questions a lot more frequently than many of you would believe. In fact, I've gotten comped drinks and bottles of alcohol because they thought I was some sort of celebrity on more than one occasion in various different parts of the world. Now, I'm not saying this to say Austin is wrong or his experience is not valid, because he's obviously saying these things for a reason. And I'm simply just sharing my experience, but I also move differently. Austin, always on the go, from what I can tell. He seems more of like the slow traveler kind of guy, where he doesn't stay in a place for 3 months, 6 months, build a social circle, establish himself as a high value guy within that social circle, and then have those locals introduce him to other high value, high social class individuals, or women, I should say. Because this is going to be really important for one of the points I make here in a moment. So keep that in your mind. The next thing I want to touch on is the fact that, yes, your money is multiplied. That is a very good point that he brings up, and I'm glad he brought that up. He has a much bigger channel than I do, and so for him to get that message out there is really important. If you are making $50,000 and you go abroad, then your $50,000 is like having $250,000 or what may have you. So you can really increase your quality of life. And he doesn't even get into the tax benefits of moving your income to a different country, especially if there's a tax treaty and you can use the foreign earned income exclusion kind of stuff. So you actually get to keep more of your money and increase your quality of life. And frankly, I wish that's something he touched on even more than what he did in this video, because that's one huge benefit of being able to make a remote income. And he talks about how women have prejudices towards black men in certain cities and certain countries, and that is without a doubt true. I have mentioned this before. You're probably going to be dinged at least a point no matter where you go in the world, especially in comparison to the typical white guy. And then he mentions that some women are just going to immediately disqualify you, point blank, period. And that is true. Once again, he makes it sound like it's 50, 60, 70, 80% of the entire population in a country that's immediately going to disqualify you. And that is simply not true in my experience. It will be 10 to 20% at most, unless you are in certain parts of China and certain parts of Asia. Then you might get up into that 30, 35, 40% range. But once again, in a country like China, where there is 1 billion people or what may have you, and 60% are open-minded to the idea, at least, that is a lot of women to work with still. And then another thing he mentions is how he blends in to the crowd. And if you are in a place where the black people are not seen as high value, you don't want to blend in. You want to differentiate yourself and you want to show your status. Which gets me to the next and final thing, where he is right on this. Some women do not want to be seen with a black man, even if she is attracted to him. And part of this is based on how society feels about black men. So in many Asian cultures, yeah, they're going to be embarrassed to be seen with you, even if they like or even love you, because they're scared what their friends or family or society in general are going to think of them. And this is especially true for people who have a lot of social currency or social status. So if they are upper middle class or upper class, then yes, they are going to be very aware of how they are perceived, especially from outsiders looking inside, because they don't want to diminish their social status and their social reputation. Whereas if you're dating lower class women, they are going to, in general, be more accepting of how other people feel or view them, because they don't have social currency or social status or class to protect. And so this is another major reason I suggest you use social circle. Because if you are part of a high value social circle and she's part of the same high value social circle, that's certainly going to diminish the level of worry she has about being seen with you, because you're both in the same social circle. You've shown that other high value people think you are of high value too. So she does not mind being seen with you. In fact, it may give you bonus points because, once again, it is going to improve, most likely, her own social class and social currency, depending on how much value you are perceived to have within that social setting. So that was a pretty long video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you think? And once again, make sure to smash that like button. Costs you nothing, means the world to me. Think about joining the Patreon if you want to do video requests, live Q&As, things of that nature. And that's going to wrap up this video. I truly appreciate you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. As always, peace, much love.